It was 6 in the morning of a Saturday when my youngest sister, Maria, broke into my apartment with 2 giant bags, as if it was the owner of the piece. "Now I live here, Mom has left," he announced with the greatest natural, while I was still trying to soothe the scene. When I threatened to move to hell if I needed to, my parents only laughed. Well, let's see who laughs last. I didn't think twice. I emptied the apartment to the last nail on the wall. My name is Aline, I'm 27 years old and I'm a literature teacher at a private elite college in St. Petersburg, that kind of work that makes it worth wake up early. Yes, teenagers may be unbearable, but there is no better feeling than seeing their eyes shine as they first discover Dostoevsky. 5 years ago, right after graduating, my mother made me a proposal that only a madman would refuse. "Remember Aunt Margarita's apartment?" he asked as he served tea in the kitchen, referring to that even property she had left me inheritance. How not to remember? I spent half my childhood there, listening to Aunt Rita's eccentric stories about the theatrical bohemian while devouring her homemade eclairs. 2 bedrooms in a Starlinka building, with 3-meter ceiling, windows for a silent patio and, best of all, just 10 minutes walk from the school where I teach. That's when I suspected. Why rent strangers if you can live here? I pay 40,000 rubles a month instead of the 50 that the market charges, she offered, as if it were a gift. Who would refuse such an apartment, in the heart of Petersburg, for this price? I accepted on time. In the following years, I invested not only my sweat, but also a personal fortune in that space. I saved each ruble, gradually renovated, solid wood floor in place of cheap laminate, walls repainted with care, hydraulic all changed. The furniture was coming slowly but with quality, a legitimate leather corner sofa, a solid wooden dining table, a king-size bed with orthopedic mattress that molds to the body and even a 165-inch TV. My mother appeared from time to time to inspect property, as she said, and always impressed. "You are a magic, daughter," he praised, running his hand through the synthetic stone bench of the kitchen. Aunt Rita would have been proud. The only point out of the curve in my perfect life was precisely Mary, my 23-year-old sister, who still lived with her parents. According to my mother, she was looking for herself, which, in practice, meant sleeping until lunch, living glued to social networks and strictly refusing to work. Not that I didn't love her, sister is a sister, but she was always a specialist in creating trouble. When the limit of the card bursting, I was the one who paid the debt. When I wanted to travel to Justy with friends, there I was playing the ticket. Last year, he wimped until I got me to pay an iPhone 14 Pro. "Everyone has, except me, that I get this 11-old, he argued. 140,000 rubles, but her smile was worth every kopeck. In recent times, however, our Sunday lunches in their parents' house had been loaded with tension. Maria kept complaining, "They treat me as a child," he said, poking the olivey salad with disgust. "I'm 23, I want my independence." My answer was dry, "Arrange a job and change." My father coughed embarrassed, and my mother moved quickly from the subject, praising my work at school. What really left me on alert was a conversation 2 months ago. Maria cried again for the personal space. "I can't spend my whole life with my parents," he philosophized. "Great. And what's the plan? How will you pay rent without income?" I asked. She shrugged, "I'll find a way." I didn't insist. Maria always left everything for the last minute, and frankly they were not my problems. I already had enough to worry, classes for PR, Eparate, writing to correct, accounts to pay. After that dinner, I forgot the subject. Mary's Lemurias were routine a year ago. Either she finally got a job, or would still parasitize her parents. My life, in the meantime, was on the tracks. Wake up at 6:30 a.m., coffee with toast, going out to school at 7:15 a.m., returned to my private refuge. On weekends, cooked for the week, marathoned series, or went out with friends. A good life, balanced. The apartment had become my true home. Each object had a story: the center table that I restored after finding in a thrift store, the shelf of books from the time from the university to my favorite novels, the dining table where he celebrated each achievement with his colleagues. My mother didn't hide the pride. Every visit became a photo shoot for social networks. "Look what Aline did with Aunt Rita's apartment. Beautiful." It was gratifying to know that she valued my effort. Over the years, I spent more than 1 million rubles on renovations and furniture, but each penny was worth it. It was my corner, my safe haven after exhausting days dealing with teen dramas. That Saturday, I slept like an angel. On Saturdays, it allowed me to luxury to stay in bed until 9, planning a lazy weekend. But exactly at 6 in the morning, a noise ripped me out of sleep. The front door opened. My eyes widened, the heart fired as if it were to explode. Someone was inside my apartment. I grabbed the cell phone, my hands shaking as I tried to decide what to do. Call the police. Was it a robbery? What if they were armed? I sneaked in the bedroom door and peered down the hall. There was Maria, with 2 huge bags, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. "What the hell are you doing here?" I shouted, the anger replacing fear in seconds. I left the pajama room, furiously. "Maria, did you lose your head?" It almost gave me a trick. She looked at me with a quiet smile, as if invading an apartment at 6 in the morning with luggage was perfectly acceptable. "Hi, Aline. Sorry to wake you up." Sorry. Saturday, 6 in the morning, without a phone call, without knocking on the door. And these bags? She shrugged and began to drag her volumes inside. I decided to move. "It's nothing much. Nothing else." "How did you come in here?" "My mother gave me the key." I was paralyzed. "Did my mother give you the key to my apartment?" She laughed, disadvantaged. "Actually, it's not quite your apartment, right? It's from Mom. She's the owner." A chill traveled my spine. "What are you talking about, Maria?" Not caring, she threw her bags in the living room and went straight to my bedroom. My room, with the huge bed I chose my finger, the curtains I took 3 weeks to decide. "This is the main fourth," he noted, analyzing the space with air of those who were already settling. "I'll be with him. You can go to the smallest. It's small, but give you." He opened my wardrobe and started moving my clothes like hers. It was like a nightmare that I couldn't wake up. "Enough, Maria. Pass these hands away from my things and explain to me right what is happening here." She turned with a radiant smile, as if she was giving me the best day of my life. "Mom said I can move here. You think it's time for me to gain independence from my parents? Let's be apartment companions. Isn't it great?" My head turned. This had to be a joke. Or a bad dream. I had not yet realized it was a dream. My mother could not simply play Maria here, without warning me, as if I were a last-minute host. With trembling fingers, I died of her number. 4 touches before he attended, his voice dragged from whom he was awakened in the middle of a deep sleep. "Hey, why are you calling anytime soon? It's 6 in the morning of a Saturday." "Mother," Maria arrived. "Here with bags and said you authorized her to move to my apartment." "What story is this?" She sighed, that condescending way she used when she explained something obvious to a 5-year-old. "Honey, Maria needs to start living alone. But for now, you can't play a place just for her. So the perfect solution is that she stay with you." "Who's perfect for?" My voice failed with indignation. "Mother, this is my asterisk home. You can't simply stick someone here without consulting me. It's not your home, a season. It's my apartment. I am the owner." The words hit me like a slap. I had lived there for 5 years. It had invested more than 1 million in the renovation, every detail chosen with love, every penny sweaty. And yet, she played it in my face like nothing. I took a deep breath, trying not to explode. "All good. How much will Maria pay? How are we going to divide the bills?" My mother laughed. A light laugh, as if I had just told the most absurd joke in the world. "Maria won't pay anything, Aris. Who will pay is you. Asterisk. This is absurd." My heart fired. Why should I play her stay if I didn't even agree with it? "Because you have a stable job and fixed income. Maria is still meeting." I didn't believe what I heard. It was a cruelty disguised as family help. This is unfair. Life cannot be that cruel. Aris. She paused, dramatic. "By the way, I was thinking. It's time to adjust the rent. From next month, it will be 80,000. 80? My voice broke. This is double what I pay. Market prices have risen. I need to adapt. 80,000 is above the market in this neighborhood. I can find a better and cheaper place. It sounds like a threat. Your voice was cold. If you want to move, your problem. It's not a threat, it's a fact. You know this is abusive. If you didn't like it, you can leave. Maria already has 2 friends interested in the apartment. They would pay the 80 without complaining. It was like punching the stomach. Are you serious? Completely. His voice was firm, relentless. So, decide. I hung up the phone. My hands trembled so much that I almost dropped my cell phone. 5 years. 5 years of that place being my home, and my mother was willing to throw me out like garbage, just to favor Maria and her friends. She appeared at the door of what was my room, now hers. So, when are you going to take your things to the little room? I want to install myself today. Logo. It was all I could say, the almost inaudible voice. I spent the rest of the Saturday stuck to the notebook, scouring Sin and Avito with a silent fury. The heart was beating out, a mixture of anger and humiliation, but I forced myself to concentrate. I wouldn't stay there in that circus. Meanwhile, Maria connected loud music in what was my room, laughing on the phone with her friends, making plans for parties she intended to give at my house. My house. By the end of the day, I found 3 options. All smaller, all more expensive than I paid before my mother's ultimatum. But there was something that place no longer had, my respect and my peace. I made visits to the next day. I needed to get out of there as soon as possible. On Sunday, I woke up early, although I hardly slept. Maria ronca in my bed as I was preparing to hunt a new home. I made coffee in silence, checked the addresses on my cell phone and left. The first option was a nightmare. The photos of the site lied blatantly, it smelled of cigarettes, the ceiling had moisture stains, the walls seemed about to collapse. The second was a little better, but the price was astronomical for that cubicle. But the third was different. A quiet neighborhood, 15 minutes from the school where I worked. The building was old but well cared for. The owner, a lady named Ludmila V.A. Silievna, received me with a smile and made a point of showing me every corner. It was a kitchenette, not a 2-bedroom apartment like what I would leave behind, but had personality. Wooden floors, large windows that let a golden light, a cozy kitchen where I could imagine myself having breakfast in the morning. 50,000–5,000 a month, said Ludmila Vasilievna. Another 1-month deposit in advance. It was more than I paid before, but less than my mother's 80 absurdities. And, most importantly, it would be mine. Without unwanted neighbors, without family blackmail, without the feeling of being expelled from their own life. I take it. I answered without hesitation. When can I move? Next week, if you transfer the deposit until Wednesday. We squeezed our hands at the same time. I transferred the money, signed a simple contract, and a huge weight came out of my back. Finally, I would have my space back. But on the way home, reality hit me like a tsunami. I had invested a fortune in that apartment. Reform, furniture, each piece chosen with love, each economy stored for months to buy the corner sofa, the dining table, the bedroom cabinet. And now? Would you simply abandon everything to Mary and her friends? Don't even think. Those furniture was mine. I had worked hard on them, had done overtime as a private teacher to pay every detail. Maria didn't deserve to inherit them just because my mother decided to play on her team. At night, I started to draw a plan. I called the Gleb, which was changing. So, do you work on Wednesday? I asked. I need to get my things out of the apartment, but it has to be while my bedroom companion asterisk is not at home. Smells the drama, he laughed. You have no idea. Then I called Lisa and Ilya. They came to help me with the boxes on Wednesday morning. The plan was simple. Maria used to leave around 10, found her friends in the gallery or some coffee and only came back at night. We would have enough time. On Wednesday, I took a medical certificate. Lying to the director made me a little embarrassed, but it was a matter of survival. I kept an eye on the door until I saw Maria leave, with her designer bag and the glasses I had given as a gift on her birthday. As soon as she folded the corner, I called the Gleb. Free path. They can come. Lisa and Ilya arrived first, with boxes and tape. They worked as machines, packing, labeling. The corner sofa, the dining table with the chairs, the set of the bed, the coffee table, the TV, to the appliances I had bought to replace the old. Are you sure you will take the toaster too? Lisa asked hesitantly. Don't you think a little petty? I bought it. My voice did not admit discussion. May she turn around with the kitchen she had before? I left only the old furniture that really belonged to Aunt Rita, an old cabinet and a dresser that was already there when I moved. The rest was mine. The Gleb team was efficient. They carried everything on the van in less than 3 hours. I took one last look at the apartment, empty of my belongings. It looked strange, even sad, but I didn't miss it. Only relief. I went to the new address, where Ludmila Vasilievna was already waiting for me with the keys. Welcome to her new home, she smiled. We spent the rest of the day running, tidying up. Lisa and Ilya were to help. We ordered a dado for dinner. When the night fell, the place already looked like a home. The singing sofa fell perfectly in the room. The set of bed was even better in the small room. This energy here is good, Ilya commented, stretched on my couch with a beer. Much better than that family reality show you left behind. Undoubtedly. I smiled for the first time in days. Much better. As if I had not seen me. Did not smile, did not wave, did not make any gesture that. Recognition. He just lowered his head and continued to tidy up his blouses with mechanical accuracy, as if I were another anonymous client passing the corridor. I stayed there for a moment, watching her. The hair, previously always impeccably straight and bright, was now stuck in a sloppy bun. The nails, which used to display expensive nail polish and designs, were short and colorless. The store's uniform, a basic black t-shirt and worn jeans, contrasted with the designer looks she sported as we lived together. There was no longer that air of superiority, that confidence of who knows that the world revolves around it. Instead, only a tired young woman, with dark circles that cheap makeup could not disguise. For a second, I felt something like pity. Not for her, exactly, but for that naive version of myself that had already spent too much energy trying to understand, justify, or even save someone who never wanted to be saved. Someone who, deep down, always knew that the world was a free buffet and that sooner or later the account would arrive. I turned my back and headed toward the dressing room. Not out of cruelty, but because there was nothing more to say. Our paths had been separated for a long time, and that casual meeting was not an invitation to reopen wounds, but a confirmation that I had made the right choice. While experiencing the dress, an elegant, wine-tone model that enhanced my upright posture and quiet smile, I thought of how life has an ironic way to distribute lessons. Ma had had everything with kisses, the best room in the house, the generous allowance, the perpetual acquittal of any responsibility. And now she was, bending sweeters for a minimum wage, while I, the selfish mestizo according to my mother, was about to present a talk at a national conference, with a stable career, a home that was just mine and a peace that money could buy. As I left the store, I passed her again. This time, I didn't look. Not out of evil, but because some stories don't deserve an end, they deserve an end point. And mine had been placed for months, the night I blocked those numbers and decided that my energy would be invested only in who really deserved it. The sun was tight on the sidewalk, and I took a deep breath, feeling the hot air fill my lungs. Life, after all, had a way to balance things. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't need to do anything but enjoy mine. The girl behind the counter barely raised her eyes, a face that clearly didn't recognize me. It was nervous among the shelves, avoiding any eye contact. I passed straight, without a word. What would be to say? She finally had a job. It was a breakthrough of the last time I saw her, when she appeared on my door with bags, as if my space was an emergency hotel. Perhaps her mother lost her patience after her friends did not pay the rent and kicked her out of the apartment. Or perhaps the flood of debts she herself created finally made the family cut the allowance. Anyway, seeing Moshe working to support himself was a silent victory of justice. I no longer needed to carry the weight of the mistakes of others. I left them all behind, with their choices and consequences, while I built a life where my energy was not drained by those who should protect me. Today I have something they never gave me: dignity, independence, and a peace that is not bought with empty excuses. Can our family relationships rebuild one day? Perhaps. But they only recognize what they did if they really ask forgiveness, not by rehearsed words, but by actions that prove they understood the damage. I will not pretend that everything is well just to maintain the appearances. My life is not a stage for staging, and my forgiveness is not a trophy that is gained by insistence. It's a school. I will do when and only if they deserve it. Until then, the door remains open only for those who respect what I built without them.